What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of Stocks and Flicks. This is just going to be a podcast. We're just going to have some fun with this one. This is going to be something where we try to tie a movie into a stock theme. It's really all the premise is going to be. It's going to be movies I like, quotes I like, things I like, clips I like to see. And I'm going to try to thread that needle and try to figure out something that's valuable from a stock market perspective with regard to the clip I use. So today's episode is going to be Dumb and Dumber, one of my favorites. I think it's an absolute classic. And today's on Dumb and Dumber, we're going to tell you that markets can get irrational from time to time. And as those of you who have watched Dumb and Dumber know, those boys can get a little irrational too. So without any further ado, let's get going. So Dumb and Dumber, let me give a little background. Came out in 1994. 1994 was the year I graduated high school. I think that happens. I think, movies that around that time and music around that time tend to be what you kind of gravitate to over a longer period of time. And as I'm now old, this movie's a classic, and so am I. Still love it, though. Still think it's hilarious. It's directed by the Farrelly brothers. The Farrelly brothers are going to make multiple appearances on here because I think they have some hilarious movies. There's Something About Mary. As soon as I figure out how to tie that to the markets, will probably be another one that I use. But I had to start with Dumb and Dumber because I think of the Farrelly brothers movies, I think this one's my favorite. It stars Jim Carrey, who 1994 was a pretty crazy year for him. I'm pretty sure this is right. Don't fact check me on this one, but I think Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber all came out within a 12-month time frame, which is just lunacy. You never see that now, but those are unbelievable. That's an unbelievable run of 3 movies in a year. And the other one is Jeff Daniels, who I don't think he was known for his comedic chops here, but I can't see Harry as anyone else at this point. I could not recast this movie if you paid me, nor would I want to. I think both of them are absolutely hilarious, and they play off one another perfectly. For the story, I'm not going to get way into the story and do a diatribe and storyboards and all that fun stuff. If you haven't seen this movie yet, do me a favor. Stop right now. Go watch it, then come back, because what they do on there is going to be way funnier than anything I do on here. It would be 2 hours well spent. Then you can come back and we can have fun with that too. But really, woman loses her briefcase. These 2 idiots try to get it back to her and have some hijinks along the way, which are absolutely hilarious. So let's turn into the fun fact here. The fun fact is Seabass. When they left him with the check, if you know that scene at all, they do kind of a dine and dash, and they leave a guy named Seabass to pay the check. Seabass was played by Cam Neely, actually, who was a pretty important 80s and 90s hockey player. Boston Bruins for the most part. But it's a pretty hilarious scene. And actually it references back to another movie. Lloyd says he saw it in a movie. That movie was actually Something Wild that starred Jeff Daniels. I actually never saw that movie. But I thought that was a little fun fact, is that they kind of tied that back into play there. The favorite quote, honestly, I chose one out of probably 50 I could have chose on here. But it is just when you think you couldn't do anything dumber, you do something like this, totally redeem yourself. I chose this one because my wife and I say it to each other all the time, mostly towards me, because I do, frankly, more of the dumb stuff. But it is a classic, and it will never leave the Bryan household, and I think it's hilarious. Not the clip I chose, but it is one of my favorite quotes in the movie. So here's the clip. I think this one's just hilarious, and it speaks for itself, so I'm not even going to waste time. Here we go.
Oh, that's it. I've had it with this dump. We got no food. We got no jobs. Our pets' heads are falling off. Okay, just calm down.
We got no food. We got no jobs. Our pets' heads are falling off. So how am I going to tie that to the market? Well, here's how. Is that if you look, markets can get irrational from time to time. And they can get irrational very, very quickly. So usually, this is our opinion, and I'm going to put it right at the bottom right there, is that usually the best time to be buying in the markets is when you feel like you're going to throw up. Because what tends to happen is we tend to move from stasis, if you will. We're very rarely in actual equilibrium, if you will, that everything is perfectly pictured in the markets. Usually there's a component of froth and there's a component of fear. And sometimes that fear can go both ways and can get extreme in both ways. Extreme fear, think COVID, think actually just recently with the tariffs in 2025 here in April, where we had a 20% correction based upon that placard that came out that had, frankly, crazy numbers on tariffs that no one could figure out why. The market went to extreme fear very fast, and we had a 20% correction very quickly. Those things can happen, and they happen, frankly, all the time in the markets. But don't think it only happens from a fear perspective. There's also a pervading sentiment of things, when things are going great, everybody seems bulletproof during those times, right? Is that they think that it's never going to go down. The .com craze was a very good one to think about for that, is that, this stuff will never come down. We're going to be just fine. And pets.com is a perfect thing to invest in at no revenue at this point right now, but the future holds bright. The future did hold bright, but we had a really significant, basically lost decade of returns during that period of time. So remember that this can go both ways. We can have froth and we can have excitement. We can have extreme fear, froth and extreme excitement, and we can have extreme fear. Usually the best way to do that is to take advantage of those. Humans aren't that great at doing that, though, to be honest with you. Our fight or flight tends to come into play quite a bit here, and you really have to battle that. The chart on the left, though, shows that if you can battle that, sentiment and kind of work your long-term plan and take advantage of those areas where fear or greed are taking over, you can do okay. Now, do you sell everything and buy everything based upon extreme fear and extreme greed? Absolutely not. That probably leads you to more problems than prosperity. But if you just look at this chart, so this is consumer sentiment index combined with the next 12 months return when it was at that point. So you can see we ebb and flow. We get very high, and very high means everything's going great. Everybody feels rosy. Very low means everything's trash. Nobody likes anything right now. If you look at it, though, the consumer sentiment, when we hit those high points, when we're feeling great, we can have some good level of return. But frankly, the long-term average when you're at those levels is below long-term market averages. You usually perform a little worse when on the next 12 months when everybody feels great. Now flip that to the other side when everybody feels terrible. When you feel like you're going to throw up, like I said before, usually the market return is better than expected over those periods of time. The next 12 months can be above average returns and sometimes significantly above average returns based upon honestly taking advantage of the fear that's out there. Usually that fear leads to irrational selling, which leads to valuations coming down, which leads to bargains. And bargains lead to how you get above average returns over a longer period of time. Again, usually planning kind of goes both ways here, but how you can incorporate tactical moves or moves to take advantage of this is really just adjust around the margins and saying when everybody and their mother is, when the guy at the water cooler is telling you how much money he's making, when your next door neighbor is giving you hot stock topics because everything is going great and they're never going to go down and they're buying a place in Florida because they've made so much money in the stock market. Those are the kinds of things where you're like, okay, maybe I just need to recalibrate a little bit and maybe take a little risk off because I've probably made some money here too. I could take a little off, wait for a better time to re-enter. That doesn't mean take everything off. It means take a little bit off, adjust at the mark, recalibrate your risk a little bit. And then secondarily, when your neighbor says, well, we're all going to crash and everything is terrible out there and no one is saying good things and markets in turmoil, the CNBC thing that you see, the headlines coming across the board, those are the times when you probably want to recalibrate risk more aggressively and saying, well, yeah, kind of feel like Jim is certainly feeling like he's going to throw up. I don't feel so great myself. Everything in the news is wretched and horrible and terrible. But you know what? Over longer periods of time, if history is any influence, chances are we're probably going to make our money here. And maybe we can take a little bit risk because I've got my near term taken care of. I've already got that. My expenses are already covered. I know what I need to do from that perspective. This is my longer term money. I can take advantage of this market and hopefully get some of those above average returns we see over a longer period of time and get that enhanced return from my portfolio. So this is how, when I talk about irrationality and our pets' heads are falling off, right? I mean, that's a perfect example of a little bit of irrationality. That's how we're going to use it within our portfolios. And when we talk to our clients and saying, how are we doing? What are we doing in these markets? Chances are it's usually the other way than people think, is that when everybody thinks it's great and I should be piling stocks in, we're probably peeling back a little bit. And when everybody thinks it's horrible and wretched and awful out there, we're probably advocating to our people to get a little bit more aggressive. So that is generally how we think about how to do things here at IndiWealth. We hope you liked this little tie-in. I hope I threaded that needle for you. But again, tune in next. We're going to do this every week. We're going to have a different movie out there and a different market theme and just really try to see if I can bridge that gap. But until then, thank you very much. And we'll see you next time on Stocks and Flicks. Take care.